Just follow the steps. I mean, you guys have put together a great program of leading people in the right direction, but it also takes the tenacity to go forth and make it happen.
Welcome to the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast, a show where we interview high voltage entrepreneurs growing and scaling through e-commerce, real estate, and other wealth without Wall Street ventures, showing you the path to making your first or next million. All right, folks, welcome and thank you for coming back to watch another and listen to another episode of the High Voltage Business Builders Podcast. I'm your host, Neil Twa. We talk about e-commerce, building wealth without Wall Street. We talk about all kinds of things, even real estate, investment, finances. But today I have a special guest I'm extremely honored to host today. He's one of our business builders inside of our group. He's one of those tenacious, grit, tenacity, go-getters I've talked about if you've ever listened to any one of my other podcasts. So I'm honored to bring him on today to tell a little bit of his story in the next 15, 20 minutes or wherever it takes us to learn about what he's doing, how he got here, and maybe even his experience so that those of you who are listening, who have any sort of interest in doing what he's doing, can kind of get some real world insights from him and the experience that he's had today. And so my first question, thank you for joining me, Ben, absolute first. and thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you so much. The first question I always ask people who are within our group, and just out of first level disclaimer, were you incentivized, coerced, or otherwise manipulated to come on to the podcast today and share your testimony?
No, this is a pleasure to be able to talk about my experience with the team here at Voltage.
Well, thank you so much for that. I appreciate you coming on. So the first question is, what has been your experience? And maybe tell us a little bit about who you are.
So I come from a tech background. A little bit of my resume is I worked for 15 years at Verizon Wireless, which is a long time in tech. Then I moved from there to Amazon. I was actually running one of the Amazon teams at Amazon, the development teams at Amazon that host the offer listing page. So I know a little bit about the other side of the technology that you're seeing every time you're doing a search.
That is cool. See, I forgot that, dude, because I actually worked in my IBM days. I worked in Seattle, Bellevue specifically, on a year-long project with Verizon Wireless on site at that campus. Yeah. Were you at that location or were you at a different location?
I was at Bellevue.
You were at Bellevue, dude.
Eastgate Bellevue, yeah.
When was that time frame? Did we cross paths? I don't even...
I started, I believe it was 99 or 98, 98 or 99.
And when did you leave?
15 years later.
15 years later. So that would have been around, I'm doing math in my head. So you left around
2014, something like that?
2014. Okay. I was there from 2005 to 2006. Okay. So we must have been somewhere near each other and didn't even, that's so strange. Okay. How cool is that? So you got your start in tech, wireless, and you understand some of the things that happened behind. Did that enable you to be more successful, do you think, at this? Or does somebody need to have that technical background to really do this?
I think it helps. Another part of the career, I'm going to try to get the dates and everything lined up here, but I also worked at SAP for 7 years.
Yep.
And when I was at SAP, they acquired, we might have to edit this because I need to have the name of the company off the top of my head.
They acquired a company. That's all right.
Sure. It was a B2B e-commerce seller. Okay. And what's it called? You can register as a seller, put product out there for the B2B market, and then have buyers, other businesses bid and engage and do the entire contract. Anyway, they were doing more in revenue than Amazon was. And so I knew that there was both a business opportunity and obviously working at Amazon, a retailer end user business to consumer opportunity. And it's just getting bigger. It's just getting bigger.
Well, it is. It's a market that's ever expanding, as we know. But if you look at the vertical line graphs and you go check out the Department of Commerce right now, it's moving in a vertical climb from, what did I see the other day, about 5.7 to 6.7 trillion in global e-commerce sales heading into 2024. So it's a beast. It's a system that is just increasing greatly every day, week, and month, literally.
Yeah. And brand value is one of the things that is absolutely recognizable. You know and trust brands. Amazon's all about trust of the customer, of them. And they do that customer relationship better than I think anybody else right now in e-commerce space. They want the customer to be happy. That's carte blanche. It's kind of, I think, the only other one that comes close is maybe Costco.
Yeah, Costco does a really great job with the same $1.50 hot dog that's been there for like 20 years. The loss leader, they do the baked or the chickens and the deli that's apparently a loss leader too. I was just reading about this the other day. It's funny you mentioned this.
Yeah. But it's valuable. I mean, people come back.
Yeah,
they know they're going to be taken care of. They know that they'll go out on a limb and take a chance, buy something because the brand standing behind will take care of them.
Well, the family of 6, I can't get out of there for less than $500 every time. It never fails that it's like $500. We make a joke about how much it's going to roughly cost every time we get out of Costco. But those growths, that learning curve and your understanding of the market, is that what ultimately led you to get started? Or was there some other factor of life that you were going after and why you started in the first place?
So in the back of my mind, I always wanted to try to build a business, start and own something, but I never had the kick in the pants, so to speak, and everything line up opportunity wise. And God just providentially at the end of COVID, I was laid off. I was given the option of finding another job in the company or taking the package and going my way. And I decided, hey, this is an opportunity. Like, they gave me basically a year's worth of salary to leave. Plus, I had already had some things saved. Right. And so my wife was like, yeah, we can go for this.
Your wife is awesome. I've been watching her move with you guys. It's fantastic. So you are doing it with her, if I remember correctly, and your family, right? So this isn't just an independent Ben thing. You've got your whole family involved.
I've gotten everyone involved to the extent that they know what's going on. And I have two of my kids that are actually helping do some of the things in the business. How cool is that, dude? Yeah. I love to watch that happen. What are their ages? Again, just not, we don't need their names, but just their ages. So oldest is 23. We have two girls, 23, 22, 18, and 16. And so I got the 22 and the 16-year-old working with me. Yeah. And soon we're going to have a fifth one. We have a little guy that's... I didn't know that. That's fantastic. Congratulations. Yeah. So you got a little boy at the end of the line there, huh? We have a little boy at the end of the line. And yeah, we got a great Christmas present coming this year because his deal to be finalized. Dude, that's so cool. That is amazing. Well, as the dad of daughters, you know how it is in the world to want to protect and cure their challenges and help them with life, which is amazing. And getting them involved in the business is very important. In fact, my oldest daughter's coming to the upcoming event in Alabama. She and I are riding shotgun together. So I'm super excited to bring her into that and start teaching her some of the ropes in person at that upcoming event. But so growing and building with the family and leveraging your time a little better, that was kind of obviously building the business was exciting, but getting your family involved. So there's a bigger vision here at play, isn't there? Yeah, there's definitely a bigger vision. I'm also trying to figure out the right way to do the generational handoff, right? Because we all have a limited time here, and it's interesting. How do you take whatever you have, a house or business or a little bit of money, and set up the next generation to do well in the values that you have and in the world, right? Because a lot of these trust fund babies don't end up well, and that's some of the other generations don't even have a trust, but they act like a trust fund baby, which is part of the problem. But yeah, I as a father and a husband and a provider, I appreciate that immensely, because we want to provide something of opportunity, growth. We want to, as we say in the homeschooling community here, we want to teach them how to think, not what to think, and give them opportunities to build with that. And so building this business, it sounds like, not putting words in your mouth, is a generational wealth transfer opportunity for you, teaching them. It's definitely been something that's been a prayer of my wife and I, and we see this as an opportunity to at least engage with two of our kids directly. That's awesome. And all of them indirectly, obviously. That is very cool. But very cool. Well, teaching them how to do that and showing them how to build their own brand and then replicate that process is a skill that will pay indefinitely when done correctly. As we like to jokingly say, sales fixes everything. It really does. At the end of the day, it creates opportunities and problems. I find that two different things that end up here. People are afraid that something isn't going to sell, or more often than not, hidden in the bottom of that scarcity is they're afraid of the success. They're actually afraid of it working. Does that sound familiar at all? Now, let's just, I want to back into some of the things. It's like, look, coming from a tech background, if you take whatever my salary was and you say, okay, that's whatever percent of some profits that you're going to have coming off of something you're selling, and you need to move that much revenue through Amazon in order to get that much profit to actually live on, that salary replacement math kind of gets a little daunting very quickly. It does. And then the way to overcome that, as you're discovering, is realizing the massive amount of opportunity that's traveling through that system, which literally is a scarcity mindset thing to overcome at the end of the day, isn't it? I mean, how much of that has been a factor in what you're doing now? There's definitely an emotional roller coaster. You're like, can I do this? Yeah. I know other people are doing it because I've seen some of the results, but is what I'm going to do work? That is definitely part of the entrepreneurial mindset, is being able to just overcome yourself. Well, how's Voltage been able to help you do that? How was the team helping you overcome some of those challenges? Well, I think Voltage does a good job of talking people through it. If I have a question, if we're going through one of the emotional roller coaster times, Voltage is a great place to have a sounding board and to get real world experience. I mean, the coaches there, you and Reed, you've been through it. You've walked it. You're transparent as to what the journey looks like and what's possible. That is the attractiveness, is being able to see the insides of how you guys get things done and helping me to not make the fatal mistake. The fatal mistake is you either hang it up and say, this is too much risk, I'm done, I can't take it. Or you go and buy something and put your money down all on black in Las Vegas, right? And it comes up red. You're like, okay, I'm done. I guess this doesn't work.
Right. Tried it once, it doesn't work.
The whole point is don't do that. Use small steps. Yes, you can make a mistake, but you're not making a $50 or $90 or $100,000 mistake. You're making a much smaller mistake that you can learn from, grow from, and is a lot less risky. You're making informed number-based decisions, not, I think this will work.
Right. And not everything you've done to start off with has been wildly successful, right? I mean, you're in a process of learning how to get this done. Step me through that and those who are listening just a little bit. Yeah.
So we have, let's see, if I'm counting, we have 12 solid ideas that we are moving forward with in some degree or another. 5 of them have actually sold units on Amazon. Of the 5, 2 or 3 are looking like they might have potential legs to invest further in. And so probably 2 out of 5 are something that we would want to continue with.
Yeah. It's a law of averages, right? I mean, if we invest in something, we know the more we invest in, the greater the opportunity for one of those things to take off and do more, greater, bigger things than the rest of them combined. So it is really a law of averages, right? In time and market. What else would you add to that from your own experience?
Oh, these are very small steps. I mean, you're talking 30 units. You start out with a test of 30.
Yeah.
You're not spending multiple tens of $1,000s on inventory to get a result. The other mindset that is difficult to overcome to someone who's never walked through the mental steps is they're not necessarily holding the product in their hand and saying, oh, I like this one or I don't like this one with the physical product. They're buying your listing. And so the mindset shift of I'm holding it in my hand and I can look at it and I can tell which one's better versus the engagement that you get with the customer with your listing and your photos and the way you describe it and the way you talk about it and the advertising that you put out there, that's really your connection and the buyer psychology that you have to overcome in order to get a sale, which is way different than walking through a physical store.
Yeah. Yeah, the retail version of that can happen, though. It's part of our strategy of conditioning people, right? Which is literally looking at your environment, looking at your day-to-day, walking through a store and looking at the products and realizing that someone's selling that. They're selling it to you. And the real hard leap for you and your mind to get over is, can I sell one of those to somebody else? And more than often, the answer is yes, it is something you can sell. The real question you should be asking yourself is, how many of them can I sell? And how quickly can I turn those over? Because that obviously drives the business forward. And something you've come to realize, I know in our experience, is that the business starts when revenue starts. It doesn't start just because you decided to start a business and form an LLC and look at me, I've got a business. Where are some of the other gotchas, pros and cons that you have just experienced along the way that maybe somebody else needs to know about?
Let's see. I think you make a really good point. If you look at we have a Trader Joe's near us. I don't know if you necessarily have one of those stores near you.
Not locally, but I'm familiar with them.
They have a very interesting brand proposition. Trader Joe's, their velocity per square foot of shelf is, I think, bar none in retail for groceries.
Yeah.
And they also hire a very particular kind of profile in the store. People pleasers or people who want to talk to people all day long.
Yeah.
Is the kind of employees. So I'm just thinking of that. You take the two combinations of want to take care of the customer and then a very high velocity shelf space turnover. That I think it's something like 10 units per square foot of shelf per day. Yep. You have both the sales opportunity and the care of the customer. And when you combine those two with a profit margin that makes sense, reasonable, then you can definitely scale.
Yeah.
And that is what Amazon gives you in spades.
Yeah.
And the barrier to entry is probably just a mind shift in someone who's never done it before.
Yep.
And a willingness to test and let the numbers guide you.
Numbers. Yeah, big one. We always talk about going by the numbers. You can't run your business on a gut feel. And that's something that you've come to grasp, which I'm grateful to see, because the numbers are where the whole business runs at the end of the day.
Yeah. One of the products that we're currently exploring, I looked at it. I was looking at the market. Yep. I had bought something like this from Costco in the past. And I was like, well, man, I wasn't able to get the quality I wanted necessarily right off the shelf in the way that we source this product. But my kids basically said, hey, this thing sells.
Yeah.
Dad, you got to try it. Look at these numbers.
That's awesome. Listen to them.
I had to overcome my inhibitors, my internal inhibitors go like, oh, shoot. What if the quality's not there?
Yeah. What if it's a fidget spinner?
Yeah.
It's a crazy crap product.
Yeah. And my kids are like, Dad, let's try it. The sucker sells. And we're like, okay, yeah, it does. Okay.
Dude.
That's one of the products that right now is showing a little bit of early numbers that we want to continue with.
How many units did you get of that original product?
30.
And how many have you sold through so far?
I can look here. I think we're down to, of the 30, what do we have left in stock? We have 7 left in stock.
How much profit per unit? We like to talk about revenue being vanity, so I'm most interested in what's the profit per unit potential of that.
So the profit per unit, let me pull that up.
And roughly how fast while you're doing that did those sell through and give you some confidence in the sale rate?
Yeah, so the margin on this product is more than 15%.
Nice.
Profit. And so far in the test, we have a real advertising cost of 20%.
Brilliant.
On the first,
we want 7 to
22%
15% dialed in, and you're at 20, so you will easily hit that number. So with those numbers, you're confident in reordering the product?
Well, yeah. And then some of the other numbers that we're looking at is also unit session percentage, which is of the people, of the eyeballs on the product that click around, how many of them are actually closing the deal?
Yeah.
And we're very early in the maturity of the listing because we don't have any reviews. And the number that I'm looking at right here on the screen is 9%.
Nice. Wow. With no reviews.
With no reviews.
So that's important to understand. The product is selling. You're making 15% net profit on no reviews. That's a banger of a test start. I'd be ordering about 500 units to go test that one out a little faster.
Last night, I just inked a deal to get right around 300.
Nice.
Reorder.
Now we'll go through a real launch. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah. It's interesting right now to try and place an order with a factory in China because they're like, Chinese New Year?
Right? Better get her done fast. Quickly, wire money. Get this out. But hey, moving from the test to the full launch at 300, you will now have statistical relevance for a product that could last for years and go into tens of thousands of unit possibilities sold at that profit margin. Yeah. And now you've got yourself a sustainable product revenue. And as you probably understand, what's the next step? Do you go into totally different niches and start up new brands? Or what do you actually do when you discover that 300 units is selling at the rate it is expected to sell?
So you want to take that brand opportunity and fortify it and actually get to King of the Hill with complementary products or other parts of that brand. You want to build out a brand. So like if you're selling car accessories, you want to hit all the ticks on a car accessory brand.
Yeah.
Get a bunch of ASINs all moving behind the same direction, build the brand recognition, and then you're going to have something that's actually marketable as if you want to sell the brand, you can do that.
That is so cool.
You can exit.
So with that strategy, the 300 takes off in that product. You mentioned there's a second one, so we're going to see where the numbers lie in that one. But just those two that could expand out into 50, where are you now mentally projecting yourself where you weren't before? Where are you seeing this business for you in the coming year and maybe years after that? What do you now see yourself doing?
So it's interesting because I'm not going to say it's not capital intensive. You do need to be able to, once you have something that has a hockey stick, you need to be able to meet the demand. And so you do have to have that capital reserve. So I'm starting to see numbers, at least in 2-day averages or sales rushes in fourth quarter, Christmas, mad dash buying season, which are approaching $500,000 in top line revenue.
Brilliant.
That's the sales volume that I was able to see in fourth quarter in repeated a couple of days. And so that gives me the opportunity to say, hey, look, if we can support this product and the way it takes off inside the Amazon ecosystem, there is definitely a 6-figure or 7-figure revenue stream possible.
Yeah, definitely in the next year. I mean, just for those who are listening, to stay practical, in the fourth quarter, there, of course, is 3 to 5 times normal sales averages for any brand, any product across the business. But if you extrapolate that out and say, okay, if it were to come down and I were to average or grow organically over the next 12 months of the coming year, and then also see Prime Day sales and holiday sales meet similar demand next year, but of course you'll be capitalized differently. You'll have more product and inventory. You'll have a much different approach to the holidays next year than you would this year. Then $500,000 is completely a realistic forecast for your business. And of course, we want to work on forecasts and opportunities and back into those so that every quarter, every month, every week, we have a plan of action to go after it. Sounds to me like you have a pretty strong plan of action in place.
We know where we're going to put the money, and we're basing it off of results, not I hope it does well.
That is fantastic. Well, if I didn't ask any questions you might want to answer or anything you might want to say, is there something else that I didn't ask that maybe you're thinking about?
Let's see.
Maybe let me rephrase that too. If you were listening to you a year ago or less, and you were talking to you who's talking now with much more confidence than the guy I knew earlier in this model, what would you say to yourself if you were listening to this?
Yeah, just follow the steps. I mean, you guys have put together a great program of leading people in the right direction, but it also takes the tenacity to go forth and make it happen. There's a lot of the steps. There's a lot of detail. There's talking with China. Sometimes it's in the middle of the night and the person doesn't understand English very well. But all of this is leading towards a goal of being able to have a sustainable business. And we're starting to see that here. This is something that can take off. This is something that, yes, there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of work involved in getting the products tested. But once you have results, once you have numbers, then you know what you're doing. It's not, I've done some stock trading. This is much more, how do you say this? I have much more trust in a system like this where I can test and see and then build from there versus trying to pick the 10 companies that you want to invest in and hope that they all do what they're promising to do.
Throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks, right? This is a slightly different process than that.
Yes.
Well, that's good insight and from your own experience. And I appreciate that greatly. And I'll have you back for part 2 in say like 6 months or so. Yep. And we'll see where you're at then. If you'd be willing to come back and share with that again, that'd be awesome.
That'd be great.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience with me, Ben.
Appreciate it, Neil.
Ask you this. If you're serious about building an e-commerce business starting on Amazon FBA, what if myself and my team worked with you one-on-one to execute the steps outlined in the podcast while helping you discover what the heck to sell, how to make sure it's profitable, and how to successfully launch a brand, plus how to do it under a consulting plus performance-driven model where I put a $10,000 skin in the game guarantee for those that show up and are serious about building a real business done with us? If yes, text keyword profit to +1 417 413 4209. That's 1-417-413-4209. And I will personally respond with a few simple questions. If you're not in the US or Canada, please visit voltagedm.com. That's voltagedm.com. Click Get Started and book a no-pressure discovery call with me or a member of my team to learn more about the Business Builders one-on-one coaching and mentoring for CEOs, entrepreneurs, and those looking to build an empire or retire using the power of e-commerce. Once again, thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode of the High Voltage Business Builders podcast.